Hey everyone, it's Jessica and I'm back with another process video for you for the ThermOWeb design team. And today I'm showing you my layout for the Woodland Winter Animals week that we're having. And I am using some hiking photos actually for mine, which is pretty convenient, but we don't normally get to hike much in December here in Pennsylvania because it's usually super cold and usually we have snow. And this was actually from last year on December 24th, so it was Christmas Eve, and we got to go hiking that day. There was a little bit of snow on the ground, as you can see in the photo on the left that I'm going to put down here, but we actually had a really nice day, and the sun was shining, and it was just beautiful, and the temperatures were great that day before Christmas last year, so we went for a little hike to spend some family time together. So what I'm doing here is I've already matted my photos, as you saw, using a paper from, I think the pattern paper was from a Simple Stories line. I'll try to link it below for you if I can find the name of it here. I think it was like Holly Jolly or something like that. But I just matted them with some smooth white cardstock and then some pattern paper. And then I used some ThermOWeb photo corners just in some plain black ones. And then here, I am grabbing a background stamp and using some distress ink on that to kind of put like a wood grain pattern in my background, which funny enough though, when I move all these paper strips on there, you can't really see any of that. So I'm going to actually add some more mixed media into this as well, using this other stamp and some Distress Oxide in Tattered Rose. So you can see that a little bit better. And I do water it down just by spraying it with a water bottle that I have here. So it just gives it a little bit more of a liquid effect here. And I'm putting this down on some Vicki Boutin mixed media paper as well. That way it holds up to the weight of all the weight of all the mixed media that I'm actually putting on. Boy, I can't think straight today. So here I'm just kind of distressing my edges on these photos. I didn't want to pull out my edge distressor because I do that on pretty much all of my layouts. So I'm just kind of like mangling up the edges just a little bit. And then here you can see that I've cut some paper strips from some scraps that I had laying here and some scraps that were in my Christmas bin. I think some of these are from Vicki Boutin and some were just Simple Stories and some other little miscellaneous scraps in my scrap pile here. So I've just cut them down to various widths and lengths just to kind of layer them up behind my photo. And then I'm bringing in, as you can see, some black flock and some of the 3D foam adhesive. So I'm sticking down the one side of the foam adhesive right down on top of the flock side, and then I have ran that through my manual die cutting machine, and I did use a shim, so I just used one sheet of cardstock in there to shim it to make it a little bit tighter. Then I just pulled this out and I'm peeling off that one side of the adhesive to reveal that flocked edge, which is going to be the top of my letters. So my title is going to be, conveniently enough, Let's Rock. I really like to play up on words and phrases and kind of do punny titles. So I'm using that as my title to say Let's Rock because we are hiking where there's these giant rocks. So I figured that would be a pretty good title. So I'm actually layering my letters. As you can see, I've already cut it in one of those pattern papers that I had in my scrap bin over here. And then I've cut it in that black fuzzy flock, which I love. So I'm going to layer them up a little bit, but first I'm just going to place my photo down. As you can see, I have used the Easy Tear tape here. I love this stuff. It's super sticky, so wherever you place this, be sure you have it in the right spot before you put it down. I cannot stress that enough because here you saw me kind of trying to peel it up, but it usually rips my paper if I try to move it. So just be careful with it, make sure it's where you want it to be before you place that down. And then here I'm just threading some baker's twine around my layout just to kind of create a little bit of kind of like a focal point at the bottom, because this is where I'm going to actually put my title down. So I'm just threading this across, kind of creating an X with it, and then I'm going to start layering my title down on here as well. I've also used my tape runner on this. This is the Memory XL tape runner that I'm using. I use it all the time, so I use that to adhere my strips down. It's super easy and quick. And then here I just am pulling off that other backing. I'm sticking the flocked side obviously up, and then the backing I'm peeling off and sticking to my letters. And then I'm going to pull out some of my liquid Ultra Bond glue to actually put on the backs of these, because it's that pattern paper behind there. So I no longer have the adhesive side of the 3D foam adhesive, because I've actually stuck that down to my pattern paper as a dimensional element. So now I need something sticky to actually stick it down to my page. So I'm going to pull out my Ultra Bond glue. Again, this stuff is pretty great. What I did with mine, because I was having trouble with the tip always clogging on mine, I guess the metal tips in the shop seem to work a little bit better from what I've heard, but mine's just the regular plastic one that comes with it, and I had a lot of issues with it plugging up. I actually, my husband was probably ready to like strangle me the one day, because I actually squirted it on my ceiling above my craft room, and I was super duper pregnant, about ready to give birth at the time, so I couldn't hardly get up on top of my table to reach it. So I had to call in reinforcements and have him come and get it off of my ceiling, so he wasn't too happy with me. So what I did with mine is I actually took it out of that Ultra Bond, the 2-ounce tube there that you see laying there, and I put it in one of these fine line tipped glue bottles, and that seems to be working out a lot better for me. But if you don't have one of those, you can always just keep, oh, there, mine disappeared. My 2-year-old must have stolen it off my table. But if you don't have one of those bottles, then you can always kind of keep like a safety pin or a needle handy and just poke the top a little bit whenever you get it out, and that should unclog it. So here, as you can see, I already stuck down all of my letters using that glue, and then I'm just using my tape runner to stick down all these other little miscellaneous embellishments, pulling a lot of them from a Vicki Boutin line, and so that's, I think it's her new one. I think it's called something Holly. I think I have it here, Evergreen and Holly collection I pulled from, but I think I also pulled from her Warm Wishes collection too. Lately I've been enjoying mixing and matching collections, which is not like me at all, but lately I've been enjoying doing that a lot. So here I have just pulled out some of these little woodland winter critters. I actually bought a cut file off of Etsy, and I let my cutting machine do all the work for me on there, and I printed them first and then let my cutting machine just cut out around them, so I didn't have to do anything to them. All I'm doing here is just putting some of the 3D foam squares on the back, and then some thread twiddles behind it to give them a little bit of kind of a pop dimension and just make them a little bit more interesting. So they have dimension with the 3D foam squares, and then they have the thread around them or behind them. I'm just kind of like scattering them about my page, and I'm just going to continue embellishing. So here I have pulled out some of my Nuvo drops just to give it a little bit more kind of shimmer to this layout. As you can see, I've already added some splatters and some Heidi Swapp black color shine, and I added some kind of corally color as well with some Nuvo. So here I'm just adding some drops. If you hear that clicking sound, that is my newborn. She is 6 weeks old. She has the hiccups again. So she's in my arms and she's happily hiccuping away, or not happily hiccuping away, but she's content. So she's here with me. Apologies for that noise. So here I have just pulled out a couple of my snowflake punches, and I am just cutting a couple out of that black flock that I had left over. My punches, these are kind of some junkier ones that I have. They're not the best quality. They work pretty good, but they don't work through real thick paper or anything like that. So this was some that I had left over from the letters. So it was pretty thick, being that it has that adhesive on it. So my punches were not loving this. I had to actually manually kind of pop them out of there and pop the punch back into place. So I just grabbed a little piece that I had left over from something else that wasn't backed on anything, and just used just a plain piece of flock to finish these up and add a couple more. So it did work out a lot better, and it punched right through just the plain flock. And then I just used some of the Zot's bling to attach those little ones. And I just put one little dot in the middle to attach the ones that weren't backed with that 3D adhesive, and they worked just fine then. Actually, I think I backed the ones with the adhesive too, but just for extra. So here I'm just kind of adding, I thought it just needed a little more in a couple places. So here I'm pulling out those dots just to put on the back to stick them down. And I think that's really about it, and gonna do it for this layout. So here's the finished product. I hope you guys all enjoyed watching this process video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll link everything for you so that you have all the links to purchase any of the products that I used today. So thanks again so much for watching, and happy holidays. Bye.